Welcome to the Economy Magazine. I'm Benjamin Changla-Fares. The revolutions that started the Arab Spring in 2011 changed the face of the Middle East, though the defeat of the region's dictators has left behind countries in political and economic turmoil. It has also created new economic opportunities. We're joined by Tzvi Bar-El, the Middle Eastern Affairs analyst for Israel's Haaretz daily newspaper. Our first report focuses on Israel's central position to international trade on the cusp of three continents. Though geopolitics has limited Israel's ability to cash in on its location in regional trade so far, we might be seeing the dawn of a new era. And Tim Leslie has more.
Israel has become a new commercial transport zone for the Middle East, an economic boon for the country that still has not normalized relations with many of its neighbors. One of the main reasons for this is that the tragic civil war in Syria has cut off the road from Turkey to Jordan, leaving two choices: go through Egypt or the more direct and less expensive route through the Jaffa Port. David Barish is the commercial manager of the Tiran Group, a freight company at the port. This boat carries Turkish cargo traveling to Jordan, just 80 kilometers from Haifa.
All this traffic was not here until 2012, let's put it this way, or 2011. And we have moved since then something like almost 3,500 trucks both ways. And I think there is also something like 1,500 to 2,000 containers per year which are moving via Israel.
Since 2011, the transit of trucks between Israel and Jordan has increased by 300%, reaching 10,600 trucks per year. According to the Turkish Merchant Marines, the number of containers shipped to Israel rose from 18,000 tons in 2010 to 78,000 tons in 2013, an increase of nearly 450%. And the state of Israel is supportive of these new business opportunities.
Israel is very interested to be a land bridge to the Middle East, and many efforts have been put, efforts and money has been put into this project to make it happen.
Israel also wants to expand the port of Haifa and build a second port in the southern city of Ashdod. By the end of the year, a railway line should be completed connecting Haifa and Beit Shean near the Jordanian border, opening the door to new ground transportation options. Israel Shipyards is also one of the companies that benefit from this new windfall. Located on the private part of the port of Haifa, the company of 200 people transports metals, livestock, and seeds of all kinds. Israel Shipyards is also a shareholder in an unregulated trade zone situated in Jordan, 6 kilometers from the border with Israel. 9 companies, including 7 Israeli companies, make use of the unregulated tax-free zone to produce and export their goods with a Made in Jordan label, which is useful in attracting new customers from the Middle East.
We are going to Amman, visiting some clients and give them the solutions about the transferring from our port to Amman. I really believe that we can work with, other countries at the Middle East.
According to Reuters, these goods could go to Iraq and Saudi Arabia, a potential step in making regional political connections via economic networks. The labeling often shows the origin of goods, but not the route, so authorities and consumers don't always know the path of goods they receive. At a time when Islamic State is making land gains in Iraq and near Jordan, this new transport road could be threatened. Still, the development of economic ties can serve as an ingredient in building deeper partnerships and developing allyship between the peoples of the Middle East.
Mr. Bar-El, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Clearly, Israel is situated on a piece of land that has been a link to civilizations. Trade has gone through here for thousands of years.
Right.
How likely is it for Israel today, with the situation that we see today, to become a trade link again to other countries in the region?
Unlikely.
Very unlikely?
Very unlikely, almost I would say definitely unlikely, because right now what we are seeing is that Israel is an island. Israel perceives itself as a villa in the jungle. This is how it tries or loves to depict itself. However, Israel is an island isolated from the area. I mean, this is very nice news that Haifa Port is, or through Haifa Port, merchandise is moving from Israel, or not from Israel, but from other countries to Jordan. However, this is a miracle for the Haifa Port, but not for Israel, because it doesn't bring any money to Israel. It doesn't really develop the Israeli economy. It doesn't develop the industry, because Arab countries are still not buying Israeli merchandise, only in a very small scale, which means, in fact, that Israel could, under other circumstances, meaning a peace process or an agreement with other countries, be able to export its own merchandise, its own product to the Arab countries. However, Israel, by refusing or declining the peace process as it is framed right now by the Palestinians, by the United States, is in fact hindering the opportunity to develop the economy of its own.
But the question then is also, I mean, on the one hand, I mean, the Haifa Port is benefiting, so ultimately Israel does benefit from the Haifa Port benefiting. On the other hand, also, I mean, Israeli products have a market. The market is in Europe, the market is in the US. Does Israel need the regional market?
Definitely. Every producer needs a bigger market. And the Middle East is a huge market. Concerning Israel, it's a clientele of 350 to 400 million people. This is a lot. However, the income which the Haifa Port is receiving from this is minimal as compared to what Israel could have done or could have gained by a peace process with the neighboring country. I mean, we have to strive. A port is just a port. We have to strive to open or to build a port in Gaza, for example, because by then there will be a production and a transportation from Gaza to Jordan, from Gaza to Egypt, and so on. But nobody speaks right now about a port because Israel doesn't want a competition in Gaza to its own ports.
Well, there's also a war going on. We're going to get to Gaza towards the end of the program. First, we're going to go to another link, important trade link, a report we have for you on the ambitious new Suez Canal construction project, which comes at a critical time as the struggling country tries to contain mass frustration. But while the project offers hope for a better future, its most promising feature lies in its focus on local funding.
It's a mammoth project. In early August, Egyptian leader Abdel Fattah al-Sisi officially launched the construction of the new Suez Canal. It involves an expansion of 76,000 square kilometers and renovations. All told, the project aims to raise $8.5 billion. In all likelihood, this will allow Egypt to double traffic from 49 to 97 vessels daily. The original idea brought up during the rule of Mohamed Morsi was to look to Qatar for funding, but al-Sisi aims to fund it locally without foreign investment, from Egyptians buying certificates to finance the project.
It is beneficial for the people and it is beneficial for the country. It is beneficial for the people because the interest is 12%, which is considered high, and the return is every 3 months for those who paid over 1,000 Egyptian pounds.
Egyptians have been flocking to banks in recent days to acquire Suez Canal certificates. The investment is largely seen as a safe bet and as a sort of patriotic seal of approval through local economic support.
I feel that I am contributing in the development of our country. I want to feel that my grandparents built the canal with their blood and sweat. I am contributing with something very simple, money. I'm contributing for my children and my grandchildren. I feel that I'm digging over there. I'm an old man, but I feel like I'm digging there.
The country aims to revive its lagging economy. Growth of 2.3% over 2013-2014 is too low for Egypt as it works to meet the infrastructural, economic, and social challenges of a growing population.
Okay, so the Suez Canal, is it a band-aid, so to speak, to contain local frustrations, or is it really an opportunity for the new leadership of Egypt to take itself out of the misery that has contain this conflict?
It's both. Actually, I mean, the project is needed. It is not just a window dressing project that Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is bringing into Egypt just to show off that he is doing something. It is a needed project, definitely. The interesting thing, as you mentioned in your report, that citizens of Egypt are contributing, and Egyptian tycoons, as we call them, rich people of Egypt are contributing to it, and everybody is kind of mobilized to make this project happen. Now, the extra income which Egypt can anticipate from this project is not that big. However, it is going to facilitate or make the Suez Canal a better route than it is today, which is good for Egypt. However, the main problem that Egypt is facing right now is the unemployment, and this kind of project is going to supply more working places, not only by digging or the actual construction of the tunnel or the extra side of the tunnel, but also in facilities, in services, in all kind of stuff which is around this kind of tunnel. Now, it brings or it pumps a new feeling within the Egyptians, meaning, okay, after such a long time that we haven't seen a project, a national project coming into being, now we have an opportunity to see and to be satisfied for the time being with the president, with the new president, with the new regime. However, the challenges are still big. The challenges are not going to be solved by this tunnel.
I was going to say, because essentially when you talk about unemployment, it's really a large number of highly educated young Egyptians that are unemployed.
Exactly.
They're not likely to be employed by this project.
Well, some of them will, and this project is not going to solve all the unemployment problems in Egypt, definitely not. However, it's going to give a new kind of atmosphere and perhaps more foreign investors who would come to Egypt and see that there is at least a regime that is reliable when it comes to economy, which means, okay, we are ready to invest more money inside Egypt, unlike what has happened in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And this is good news for Egypt. If we see more investors coming into Egypt or Egyptian investors investing their own money in Egypt, this is good news. This is good news for the unemployment as well.
Okay. Well, as promised, we're going to go back north now for our last report, where international organizations are looking into ways to help rebuild the Gaza Strip, even as peace negotiations between Hamas and Israel remain elusive.
Last Monday, the Norwegian foreign minister was visiting Gaza, aiming to put an estimate on the damage and repairs needed in the Palestinian territory. The Scandinavian country is expected to host a conference soon with this focus.
I think the international community, including Israel, has a big responsibility, and there is a humanitarian imperative.
For now, Gaza is in dire straits. Damage is estimated at $7.8 billion. As well, road systems have been damaged beyond repair, and access to clean water is limited for a massive number of the nearly 2 million people living there. In the overcrowded and hot Gaza Strip, inhabitants dug many wells in the years since the blockade began.
Since 2006, 10,000 wells have been drilled, and I think 2,000 of them were recently drilled. This is illegal, and it is not allowed, but it is the result of power cuts, long water shortages, and lack of police to even ban these illegal drilling.
With the war's destruction, an already hard situation has been aggravated, and these wells are not the only source of humanitarian concern. According to the UN, the central water table in Gaza is contaminated by sewage and will be totally unusable by 2016 if it remains unchanged. It's a serious threat that affects, among others, the agricultural sector, already hit hard by the 50-day Israeli operation. According to Palestinian authorities in Gaza, more than half of the land is partially or completely destroyed.
The grapes were infected. Some farmers could not visit their vineyards during the war. We're supposed to sprinkle pesticides on our fields at the beginning of the Ramadan, but we could not access our lands, our grapes.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, in the West Bank city of Ramallah, has been paying attention to the damage in Gaza. His economy minister, this week, pleaded for $550 million in emergency humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, the UN is calling for a political solution.
Humanitarian assistance is not the solution and will be insufficient for Gaza to move forward. A number of other critical developments must take place, including maintenance of the ceasefire.
Within 2 weeks, a new round of negotiations are set to take place between Israel and Hamas. Already, the rebuilding needs are enormous, and new clashes would mean further disaster for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
This is, of course, a report that we made right after the war, Protective Edge. Considering that all this international aid is going into Gaza, and Hamas is still at odds with both Israel and Egypt, but needs both of them for trade purposes, will aid go towards another war, or will it be invested in Gaza?
The aid will definitely be invested in Gaza, and I would say, I dare say that at least 80–90% of the investment will go into Gaza. And I think it serves not only the Palestinians, it will serve Israel as well, even if Hamas stays in power, because right now Israel, Hamas, and definitely the population in Gaza needs some rehabilitation and needs some renewal of their economy, and this will serve all sides.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Tzvi Bar-El from Haaretz newspaper. Thanks for joining us. That's the end of our special on the new Middle East. I'm Binyamin Fares. Thanks for watching, and join us again tomorrow.